Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, my dear students and viewers. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic for research students, that is writing a research proposal. You often are aware that when students come to university and when they start doing their coursework, and once the coursework is complete, they are required to submit a research proposal. And at this stage, many students get complicated, confused with writing a research proposal. And many of the students even leave, even do not turn up to the university only because of the challenges of writing a research proposal, only because they do not have confidence, or because they have not really understood the real contents of the course of research methodology. So realizing that need, I thought that we need to record a video on this topic of writing on research proposal. So before we learn about what are three important things in writing a good research proposal, we need to understand that what is a research proposal. Research proposal basically is a 3,000 to 4,000 or 5,000 word document explaining the plan of study that one scholar makes to execute for achieving a particular degree. Now there are several models. There is no fixed model for writing or a fixed template for it, but there are some common principles which most of the researchers follow. So this 3,000 to 4,000 word document requires very technical and very careful attention to draft it and to make it more convincing for the committee members to approve it. Now, the second important thing is that what is basically the prerequisite for writing a research proposal. The prerequisite for writing a good research proposal is that you must have a very good topic with you, a very short, brief, and a meaningful title, a topic with you, so that you can just develop it into a proposal. Now, how to make that topic? Now, the topic, normally when the students undertake courses, they have their own areas identified. But when you start your reading of, extensive reading of research articles and consultation process with your teachers or with your supervisor, then you specify that what basically is close to your heart and what actually you want to pursue in your research plan. So once that's the prerequisite, that you must have a good topic. Once it is done, now you start developing writing your proposal. Now, in your proposal, there are three very important stages, which I'll explain one by one. First of all, that you write the introduction, then you write literature review, then the third one is writing the research methodology chapter or section or stage of your research. These three form the foundation of the entire research plan that you are going to do for 1 year in case of M.Phil and 3 years in case of Ph.D. So these three steps basically define or provide you the basis. Now, if these three stages are very well thought out, very well calculated, very well read and written, your job becomes much easier than we all think. Now, because you are a new researcher, a new writer, a new academic writer, you find that there are several questions to be answered. So when we start with the first stage, which we call introduction, after we have a topic written in front of us, and then when we design a topic, for example, in this case, for example, I have an example to share with you. I have a couple of examples. For example, we have a topic exploring the impact of listening comprehension strategies practiced at the undergraduate level in Shah Latif University. This is one of the good examples. That has to be a short and a meaningful topic. The second topic is the exploring or evaluating for the impact of brainstorming strategies in ESL writing at the undergraduate level in the university. So, I mean, such kind of topics actually mean a lot, which are practical in nature and more related in the field of applied linguistics, which is basically our topic. So, once you start writing the introduction, the first thing, there are 4 or 5 subtopics in this stage. The first thing that you do is to write down the introduction by giving the background situation, and then describing some facts, major developments in the field, and giving why you are so motivated to carry out that research. So this is point number 1 that you write in your proposal. You need to explain, after all, why you have started this topic and why you think it is important to carry out research in this particular field. The second point that you write under the chapter of introduction is problem statement. Now, problem statement basically is a statement which explains the problem that you have specified in your topic. So, I mean, that's a kind of a paragraph, not more than 30-40 words, to give a very small picture of the problem that you intend to investigate or explore in your research. The third important thing is a research question. Once you have a problem, then you begin and think about a research question. Now, forming a research question is not really that difficult once you have formed a good topic. A good research question is connected with your topic. So your topic will be sort of rephrased in a kind of a question. For example, we are talking about listening strategies or brainstorming strategies. Your research question will be, what is the impact of brainstorming strategies on the development of ESL writing at the undergrad level? And then you can make some sub-questions also to give you, to make your study plan more specific and make it easy for you to find the answers. Now, sub-questions will further explain the main topic, which is what are the problems faced by the ESL students of writing. I mean, that's what actually is the reason that you've started this study. Or how brainstorming strategies help develop writing efficiently. I mean, these are few sub-questions which can be 2 to 3 sub-questions. So you have a main research question and 2 or 3 sub-questions. The third point then you need to write in your first part or first chapter is your research objectives. Why you are doing this study? What do you think this study will bring about? What kind of change, improvement, or a kind of need you feel is there that you think your study is going to fulfill? So what we call it aims and objectives of research. So this also needs to be written kind of bullets in around 4 or 5 specific objectives. Then we have fourth point in first chapter to describe the significance of a study. Now, when you're writing about the significance of the study, you need to explain how important and significant it is, or what is the scope of your study, or why do you think that this study, how much will it contribute in the lives of the students who basically are not good listeners or not good writers, and you think your study is going to make them achieve the goals of their life. So it has, economical in addition to pedagogical implications. So you will explain the significance in such a way. And then the last point in the first chapter is the context of the study. That's very important to explain in your proposal, that in which context you are planning to carry out your studies. It is a university, it is a college, it is a school, it is a particular group of students, it is a particular class or whatever, or textbook or whatever. So I mean, you need to explain the whole context with its pros and cons very briefly into this stage. So this first part here ends with around 1,000 to 1,500 words written in this first part. The second part, which is also very important, is literature review. Now, writing good literature review is only possible when you have read a lot about your topic. Otherwise, it's not possible. Because if you do not know about your field, if you're not familiar with your field, you can definitely not identify the issues that are raised by researchers and scholars in your field. So in the second stage, where you are required to write about the relevant studies that have been done so far in your field, or the kind of summary of research is done in your field, it's very important for you to report these studies. And not only report these studies, you need to report them critically. When we're talking about reporting them critically, we have very famous 5 C's used in writing critical literature surveys or reviews. These 5 C's are, for example, that you need to cite scholars that you think are relevant with your studies. You need to cite them, you need to compare them, you need to critique them, you need to connect them, and then you need to sort of integrate these scholars in your research study. So once you are citing them, once you are connecting, comparing, and critiquing them, or doing the critical analysis of all these studies, you integrate these studies with your own context or with your own study. Once you do it, you find that where your study fits in, you find a kind of a gap which you're required to fill, and that's what we commonly refer as a research gap, which is also very important for you as a scholar to understand and know it, so that this is something what others have done, and this is something that you are going to start off. Maybe it is already done somewhere else, but because your context is different, your population is different, your environment is different, so you are going to aid more into the existing body of knowledge. So this is how you can conclude your literature review. The third and most important stage in writing a good research proposal is giving a very comprehensive, detailed account of your research methodology section. In your research methodology section, what you do basically, this is around again around 1,000 to 1,500 word stage, length section of your research proposal, which basically requires you to explain the theoretical framework in the beginning, that what kind of theory you want to start off working at. For example, you want to choose qualitative research, quantitative research, or you want to choose Criswell's model of mixed method, and you want to use these. And then once you are very clear with it, because you already are familiar with it once you're taking the course in methodology, then you need to explain further about your design, which design you want to choose for your research. Maybe it's an experimental design, maybe it is a quasi-experimental design, a cross-sectional design, an action research, or a case study research, etc. So once you are clear with these things, then the next thing that you need to decide and write about is your research techniques. What are these research techniques? These are interviews, these are questionnaires, these are field notes, there can be observation checklists, there can be textual analysis. So each of these instruments that you need to mention in very good detail. And maybe it's not necessary that you take all these instruments in one short scale research, but maybe you take one, maybe you take two, maybe you take, the more instruments you take, the more legs you provide to your research argument, to depend on. So at least two, we recommend that at least two instruments should be selected for your study. So once you've chosen the technique, once you're clear about the technique that you want to, you definitely will have an understanding of what is the formation, the piloting of that particular technique. But at least you decide that what you are going to, how you are going to execute your methodological orientations. Then you talk about the sample in your methodology, research methodology section. I mean, how much is your sample? What kind of population? How much the size is? Who are these? Are undergraduate students? These are college students? These are common people? These are teachers, or these are students? And how much? I mean, people, you are taking 100 people, you are taking 50 people, then the teachers. Then we have also some sampling techniques. For example, we have snowball sampling, we have cluster sampling, with simple random sampling, probability, non-probability sampling procedures that you already have learned in your research methodological course. You need to have that understanding at the stage that your sample should be sound enough to form you the basis for good population. Then you are required to explain the procedure of analyzing. Once you have collected the data through these instruments and these sampling techniques, now you need to explain that how you are going to analyze it. Now, qualitative and quantitative methods of research have different ways of analyzing data. Qualitative ways, for example, talk about thematic analysis, and there are some codes given, and whereas in quantitative analysis you have got SPSS, you have got some other softwares which help you a lot in making the categories and bringing you results in digits, as is normally the case in quantitative research. When you got mixed methods, you have got a gradual or a sequential analysis of your data, and then you go into merging and combining it later in the chapters and see what basically results have arrived. So having said that, the fifth point in your research methodology is that you need to give your supervisor or your committee a particular timeline, that how long it is going to take. Is it going to take in doing that particular analysis or collection of data, the analysis of data, and then the submission of your thesis. Once you're clear with that, then you need to give a brief description of ethical considerations, that you are aware at least of how would you collect it, how would you take consent from the particular organization, the institution, the department, or the people that you're going to contact, and then how much of the text you are going to cite, and how much you are making the percentage of plagiarism, and many other things that are sometimes allowed and sometimes not allowed, are not ethically appropriate in academic traditions. So I mean, this is the third very important stage in writing a good research proposal. Once these three stages are very well written, then at the proposal stage you have a plan that you can make just a very brief plan, that how many more chapters you would be adding into your thesis, which could be the analysis of your data. I mean, for example, you can make two chapters, one for analysis of qualitative data and one for the analysis of quantitative data, and then you can have the last chapter, the concluding chapter. So then the last thing that you're required to write is your reference list, which has to be in APA in case of applied linguistics, and we follow, we teach in classes how to write that reference list and how to write those citations. So I mean, the reference list is done, the proposal is all ready, and now you can submit it. But before you submit it, we recommend that, we at our department recommend that the students should go for the pilot work of the proposal. I mean, for example, you have a questionnaire, you have designed an interview, some interview questions, you need to pilot it, sit with some expert and then try. sit with some group of students and try how your particular instrument works out. Maybe some students are taking a lot of time in understanding your words and phrases and items and ticking things and making some sort of problem. So these problems can be addressed in the piloting stage. So these students, I hope that this very brief talk would provide you the foundations to start writing your research proposal. I know many of the students are waiting to write research proposals, but it's not that difficult once you are very well read. At least if you've read your books, if you read your courses, if you read the number of articles that you were assigned to read, you are good enough to start writing your research proposals. Remember that all this process requires you to be very good readers, very good critical readers. So the foundation of writing a good research proposal is that you are very good thinker also. In addition to a good critical reader, you are a very good thinker. You think critically on various issues that are related with your field. So with that said, I hope that this contribution will make this little task easier. Okay, thank you very much.